For centuries, the Galactic Zenith Empire had maintained its iron-fisted rule through a system of chillingly efficient control, planned obsolescence. Their vast, sprawling empire didn't conquer by brute force alone, but by engineering dependency. Every piece of technology they supplied to their client races, from agricultural automatons to atmospheric processors, from basic comm units to advanced medical diagnostic tools, was designed with an expiration date. Components would subtly degrade, software would develop fatal bugs, and critical systems would seize up at pre-programmed intervals, forcing client worlds into perpetual reliance on Zenith-supplied parts and technical support. Even their military hardware, the shining, technologically superior ships that patrolled the conquered sectors, suffered from this doctrine. Their warships were masterpieces of over-engineering, so complex, so perfectly integrated, that they could not be repaired in the field. A single critical failure meant the entire module, if not the entire vessel, had to be replaced at immense cost, ensuring a constant demand for new Zenith products and keeping their vast industrial complex perpetually active. No Zenith tech was ever truly fixed. It was simply discarded and superseded. The client races, once proud and independent, had become technological serfs, their economies tied to the Zenith's unending cycle of upgrades and replacements. They groaned under the weight of maintenance contracts and forced obsolescence, but they saw no way out. The Zenith Empire was too powerful, its technology too advanced, its control too absolute. Then came humanity. The Terran Federation, a relatively young and boisterous newcomer to the galactic stage, had always been regarded with a mixture of amusement and disdain by the Zenith. Humans were messy. Their technology was a hodgepodge of ancient designs and bleeding-edge innovations. They ran software from centuries ago on modern hardware, salvaged parts from derelict ships, and their ground vehicles often looked like they'd been bolted together from a junkyard. They were, in the Zenith's estimation, profoundly inefficient. They clung to the old. The Zenith Empire, in its arrogance, had dismissed humanity as a threat. Their ships were suboptimal, their logistics unrefined, their industrial output wasteful, due to their bizarre habit of repairing things rather than replacing them. On the battle-scarred hull of the ancient TDFS Resilient, a heavily modified human frigate older than most Zenith battlecruisers, Captain Ava Rostova watched a Zenith heavy cruiser flicker and die on the comms. Another Concordance ship, fresh from the shipyards, had failed. A critical power conduit, designed by Zenith to last exactly 14 standard cycles, had burned out on cycle 14.1. "Damn it," Rostova muttered, slamming her fist on her console. Another Concordance vessel lost to planned obsolescence. It's not a war, it's a subscription service. Her chief engineer, Lieutenant Commander Jax, a Cathar with a surprising affection for human mechanical ingenuity, rumbled, "Their technology is designed to fail, Captain. It is insidious." "It's effective," Rostova corrected, her eyes narrowed. "Keeps everyone beholden to them, but not us. Not us." Humanity, with its long and storied history of fixing broken cars with duct tape, running ancient software, on new machines, and generally refusing to throw anything away, had a secret weapon, the Tinker Fleets. These were not glorious cutting-edge warships, but mobile repair yards, salvage operations, and engineering marvels built by generations of humans who believed that anything could be fixed, upgraded, or repurposed. They were the bane of planned obsolescence. Dr. Aris Thorne, a human xenogeneticist who, after his experiences with the Legacy Code, now saw the profound wisdom in biological noise, had applied a similar philosophy to technology. "Our genetic code their technology," Thorne often mused. "The universe hates perfection. It prefers things that can adapt." A new order came down from the Concordance High Command. The Zenith Empire was pushing deeper into Concordance space. its perfectly optimized fleets overwhelming the Concordance's equally optimized but ultimately fragile designs. Admiral Valerius, the Cathar fleet commander, had a desperate idea. He had witnessed humanity's stubborn resilience firsthand. "Captain Rostova," Valerius projected, his voice a low, gravelly rumble. "The Zenith calls your species inefficient. They call your technology obsolete. Prove them wrong. Unleash your tinkers. Show them the power of what does not break." Rostova grinned, a feral glint in her eyes. "Admiral, prepare to have their perfect empire. Get a little messy." The Tinker fleets were not glorious to behold. They were a motley collection of ancient freighters repurposed into mobile foundries, salvaged Zenith plating welded onto human hulls, and a chaotic array of tractor beams, welding rigs, and sensor arrays that looked like they belonged in a junkyard. Each ship pulsed with jury-rigged power conduits and humming non-standard components. They were ugly, they were slow, and they were utterly unique. The flagship of the Tinker fleets was the TDFS Patchwork, an ancient orbital station, literally, cobbled together from the wrecks of dozens of battles and decommissioned vessels. Its command center, a glorious mess of flickering screens, exposed wiring, and the pervasive smell of ozone and burnt synth plastic, was commanded by the legendary Chief Engineer Macmillan, the very same Mac from the Mules saga, now a celebrated Rear Admiral. "All right, Tinkers." Macmillan barked over the comms to his assembled fleet, his voice raspy but full of a familiar, gruff energy. "Zenith's hitting the Corvanian sector hard. Their new model heavy cruisers are taking out entire Concordance squadrons. Our intel says their main shield generators are designed to burn out after 72 continuous hours of high-intensity combat. We're going in. Our mission? Don't fight 'em. Fix 'em." A young human recruit, Private Anya Sharma, a brilliant self-taught engineer and former salvage artist, stared at Macmillan, bewildered. "Admiral, you mean—" "We're going to repair Zenith ships?" Macmillan snorted. "Not for them, kid. For us. Their tech is designed to fail. Our tech is designed to survive. We're going to show them that a perfectly designed weakness is just an opportunity for human ingenuity." The Tinker fleets moved into the Corvanian sector, disguised as a civilian salvage operation. The Zenith, blinded by their own arrogance, dismissed them. Who would send a fleet of rust buckets into a war zone? It was inefficient, illogical. The battle raged. Concordant ships, outmatched and outgunned, fought valiantly. As predicted, after exactly 72 hours of continuous combat, a significant number of Zenith heavy cruisers experienced critical shield generator failures. Their perfect systems, designed for replacement, not repair, left them vulnerable. As the crippled Zenith cruisers drifted, awaiting replacement by new models, the Tinker fleet struck, not with weapons, but with salvage beams. They swarmed the disabled Zenith vessels like a flock of hungry scavengers, their tractor beams latching onto the massive, failed shield generators. Zenith commanders were apoplectic. "What is this? Unidentified vessels are salvaging our disabled units? This is a violation of recovery protocols. These units are designated for replacement." Macmillan, watching from the Patchwork, grinned. "They think their garbage is too good to fix. We think their garbage is a treasure trove." The salvage operation was an astounding success. The Tinker fleets, under Macmillan's meticulous and often unconventional direction, began to strip Zenith's failed, irreplaceable components. They weren't trying to understand the calculus's design philosophy. They were trying to subvert it. Back at the Patchwork, the captured Zenith shield generators, complex masterpieces of over-engineering, were brought into the human engineering bays. Zenith engineers had designed them with proprietary interfaces, lockdown software, and non-standard component sizes, all to prevent independent repair. "Look at this beauty," Macmillan grumbled, kicking a massive, pristine Zenith power conduit with his boot. 500,000 credits for this, and it's designed to blow after 3 days. What a waste. Anya Sharma, her multi-tool already whirring, began to disassemble the conduit. "Admiral, their power regulators are designed with a single unshielded capacitor that inevitably burns out. If we just bypass it and replace it with one of our own, made from salvaged comm unit alloys and a little elbow grease," Macmillan finished, a glint in his eye. "Now you're thinking like a tinker, kid. Don't replace it, improve it." The tinker fleets became masters of reverse obsolescence. They didn't just fix Zenith technology, they made it better, more durable, and infinitely more adaptable. They replaced Zenith's proprietary parts with universal concordance standards, often using materials salvaged from their own junk piles. They rewrote Zenith's locked-down operating systems, replacing them with open-source human firmware that could be patched and updated indefinitely. They even began to simplify Zenith's overly complex designs. A Zenith warship's warp core might have 70,000 components, 10,000 of which were redundant or designed to fail. Human engineers would reduce that to 5,000, making it more robust, easier to repair, and less prone to catastrophic failure. The Concordance, initially skeptical, was now astounded. Damaged Zenith ships, once thought beyond repair, were being salvaged, re-engineered by humans, and then turned against their former owners. Concordance fleets were suddenly fielding Frankenstein vessels, Zenith hulls powered by human warp drives, Zenith weapons arrays controlled by human targeting systems, their weaknesses negated, their strengths enhanced. Admiral Valerius, watching a re-engineered Zenith destroyer, now flying under a Concordance banner, annihilate a Zenith scout group, could only shake his head. They are not just repairing Terran. They are evolving the Zenith's own technology. They are making it stronger, more resilient. Dr. Thorne, standing beside him, nodded. "The universe favors the adaptable, Admiral. The Zenith built perfection, but perfection is brittle. Humanity builds resilience, and resilience is unbreakable." The Zenith Empire was in an uproar. Their client races, once dependent on Zenith spare parts, were now getting their broken agricultural drones, their failing atmospheric processors, and their sputtering comm units fixed by human tinker fleets. Not only fixed, but upgraded. Zenith's carefully constructed economic model of planned obsolescence was unraveling. The tinker fleets, under the new designation of Concordance Repair and Enhancement Corps, CREC, began openly operating in client sectors. Their presence was revolutionary. Farmers could keep their ancient harvesters running for decades. Medical clinics could upgrade their diagnostic tools without buying new ones. Entire planets were liberated from the Zenith's technological tyranny, not by war, but by wrench. The Zenith government, accustomed to military solutions, was baffled. They couldn't declare war on a repair ship. They couldn't target engineers. With their warships, it was economically disastrous but militarily confusing. Reports indicate a 73% reduction in Zenith maintenance contract renewals in the Corvanian sector alone, a Zenith economic minister reported to the Emperor. Terran tinker fleets are providing repair and enhancement services, free of charge. They are subverting our economic control through philanthropy. The Zenith Emperor, a haughty, multi-limbed being of immense power, slammed a limb on his throne. "Philanthropy? This is an act of economic warfare. Deploy military assets. Destroy these tinker vessels. Restore order." But the tinker fleets were nimble. They mingled with civilian traffic. They operated in asteroid fields and nebulas, where Zenith's rigid fleet formations struggled. And when engaged by Zenith forces, they didn't fight back. They simply kept their damaged vessels patched together, using their repurposed Zenith shielding to absorb blows, then limped away to fix themselves. They were too inefficient to catch, too resilient to destroy, and too numerous to ignore. Anya Sharma, now an expert in bypassing Zenith's digital safeguards, led a team of cyber tinkers. They specialized in hacking into Zenith-supplied civilian Infrastructure, bypassing the planned obsolescence protocols and installing human-made open-source patches. All right, team, Anya projected to her crew. We're going for the Talaros atmospheric processor. Zenith's got it set to auto-shutdown in 48 hours. We're going to patch it to run for another 50 years. Get ready to break some digital patterns. The Zenith tried to counter with cyber warfare, but their elegant, perfect code was no match for human hackers who thrived in the messy, chaotic world of exploited vulnerabilities and improvised workarounds. Zenith's perfect firewalls, designed to protect against logical attacks, simply couldn't understand human code that was deliberately messy, unpredictable, and often outright nonsensical to a machine. The Zenith Empire was crumbling from within. Its client races were rebelling, empowered by human-repaired technology. Its military was struggling, as its perfectly designed ships were now being fought by better-than-new versions of its own tech. Their entire philosophy of planned obsolescence was being inverted against them. Rear Admiral Macmillan, now a figure of legendary status, conceived of his most audacious plan yet, Operation Ugly Duckling. "All right, Tinkers," Macmillan barked, his voice hoarse with satisfaction. "We're going to target their flagship, the Imperial Perfection. It's a masterpiece of Zenith design. 10 layers of redundant systems, 20,000 components, all of them perfectly integrated. So complex it can't even be repaired on a starbase, let alone in the field. The Zenith Emperor himself commanded from the Imperial Perfection. It was untouchable theoretically. Our mission," Macmillan continued, a dangerous glint in his eye, "isn't to destroy it. It's to downgrade it. We're going to find the weakest link, the most over-engineered, subtly failing component in that masterpiece, and we're going to replace it with something human." Anya Sharma's team identified the target, the Imperial Perfection's central navigation computer. It was a marvel of Zenith engineering, designed with redundant quantum processors and predictive algorithms that could chart a course through any star system with impossible accuracy. It was also designed with a single, tiny, almost undetectable proprietary heat sink that would slowly degrade over a standard year, causing minor, accumulating navigational errors that would eventually necessitate the replacement of the entire, impossibly complex computer. A daring infiltration team, led by Captain Rostova, managed to board the Imperial Perfection disguised as maintenance droids. They navigated the pristine, logical corridors, their crude human tools hidden beneath their sleek Zenith exteriors. They reached the navigation computer. Anya's team bypassed its digital locks, their messy human code flowing like water through the elegant Zenith firewalls. Then, the final, most audacious act. They didn't destroy the heatsink. They replaced it with a human-made universal model, a cheap, incredibly robust, and perfectly reliable part crafted from salvaged alloys and designed to last for centuries. "The audacity," the Zenith Emperor screamed when his security forces finally caught the human team. "You have infiltrated my flagship. You have replaced a component with an inferior, non-proprietary model. This is an act of vandalism. This is an insult." Macmillan, watching from the patchwork, simply chuckled. "It's called an upgrade, Emperor. You just don't know it yet." The Zenith Emperor was right. It was an insult. A profound, humiliating insult to their entire philosophy. The Imperial Perfection, once the pinnacle of Zenith technology, now carried a piece of human inefficiency at its very core. The initial effect was subtle. The navigation computer, with its new, reliable human heatsink, began to work flawlessly. Too flawlessly. The subtle, planned degradation that required replacement never occurred. The Imperial Perfection sailed on, its navigation perfect, but its fundamental weakness, its eventual, inevitable need for a replacement, was gone. The Emperor, baffled, demanded diagnostics. His engineers were horrified. "Your Majesty, the Central Navigation Computer's planned obsolescence protocol has been disabled." The component is functioning at 100% efficiency indefinitely. It will never fail. It will never require replacement. But that's impossible, the Emperor shrieked. It defies our entire doctrine. It's permanent. It's reliable. It's ugly. This was the ultimate blow. The Zenith Empire's entire economic and technological doctrine was built on the premise that everything had to be replaced, that nothing could last forever. Humanity had introduced reliability, permanence, and ugly functionality into the heart of their perfection. The psychological impact on the Zenith military was catastrophic. Their technology, once a symbol of their superiority, was now seen as flawed, unreliable, and easily subverted by humanity's crude but effective methods. Their perfectly complex designs were now simply targets for simplification. Their planned obsolescence was now just an opportunity for an upgrade. The Zenith Empire, facing widespread rebellion among its client worlds and an internal crisis of confidence in its own technology, began to unravel. It could not fight an enemy that refused to play by its rules, that cherished the old, that embraced the fixed, and that found beauty in the functional. The war ended not with a bang, but with a whimper of economic collapse and philosophical defeat. The Zenith Empire, unable to maintain its control through engineered dependency, fractured. Its client races, empowered by human-repaired and upgraded technology, reclaimed their independence. Rear Admiral Macmillan became a living legend, the architect of a revolution fought with wrenches and ingenuity. He retired, briefly, to tinker with ancient Terran vehicles, but his philosophy of permanent upgrade became a cornerstone of Concordance technology. The Tinker fleets, now renamed the Concordance Engineering and Lifespan Division, CELD, became a galactic institution, their mission to maintain, repair, and upgrade technology for all member species, ensuring that no civilization would ever again fall victim to planned obsolescence. Captain Rostova, Lieutenant Commander Jax, Private Anya Sharma, and Dr. Aris Thorne continued their work, each pushing the boundaries of human ingenuity, proving that strength wasn't in creating the new, but in preserving and improving the old. The galaxy changed. It learned to value durability over disposability, resilience over perfection. It learned that true progress wasn't in the constant pursuit of the next, but in the sustainable, adaptable, and often beautifully messy maintenance of what already existed. Humanity, once scoffed at for its chaotic history and inefficient methods, had become the galaxy's unexpected savior. Not because we built the most advanced technology, but because we refused to let anything, no matter how broken, be truly obsolete. We taught the stars that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in pristine perfection, but in the stubborn, grimy, and utterly unconquerable will to fix things, to make them last, to keep them running, no matter what. And in a galaxy that once believed in designed obsolescence, humanity ushered in an era of permanent upgrade.